Hello and welcome to the SportsHeads with our new show, The Hurry Up. It's been a long time. We've missed you guys, and we have got a show with a new format. We've decided to mix things up. So we're going to be talking about like loads of different sports moving forward, from being Premier League, football or soccer to you guys in America, and obviously all American sports as we normally do. Today I'm joined by Sam Morgan and Daniel Falui. How are you guys?
Pretty good, thanks.
Yeah, not too bad. Just being at home, bored, waiting for sports to come back.
So it's been a long 3 months, huh?
Yeah,
as you can tell from the hair, yeah, it's been a long time.
Oh man, yeah. I've shaven the beard off, and it's grown back in that time. So,
I'm starting to see people getting their haircuts. I'm wondering if barbers are open or not. I mean, it doesn't affect me in any form way because I literally have no hair, but it is what it is. Right, so we've got basically a new format for you guys. We have basically 3 quarters where it's 10 to 15 minutes where we talk about the main sports news of the week. Each person gets around 2 to 3 minutes. I might make it a little bit more, depends, because it's good mood today. To be able to make their point with no interruptions, no talking over each other, just so we can get all of our points together, and then we'll see who has the best points, who has the best arguments. We will see, because you guys in particular love to argue. So let's go. Right, so let's start with the first topic. Premier League is due to start next week. Do you guys feel that there'll be effect on the top 4 and bottom 4 places due to the COVID-19 break? I'll start with you, Sam.
I think so. I think it would probably come down to who's prepared the soonest. Yeah. Just based on the fact that obviously some clubs have probably been waiting to see if it was going to get null and void. They were probably watching other leagues like the Dutch league, obviously the French league, null and void, or just ending, should I say that. Actually, I wonder if they were just waiting for the Premier League to obviously do the same. I've seen a few players reporting back overweight, unfit. Whereas then there's other players that obviously, and teams that have come back right and obviously preparing. They've got friendlies obviously taking place, and I think the top clubs probably will be a lot closer actually now. I think it's going to come down to actually the fixture run now, like will come into play even more so. Arsenal have still got to play Tottenham and City, and City's their first game, which effectively was their game in hand, which is going to have a knock-on effect. Obviously, City, it'll be interesting because obviously this week is their hearing as well. So we'll find out if they're actually going to be in the Champions League. If they're not going to be in the Champions League, what are their players going to do? Because you're already hearing people like Kevin De Bruyne obviously potentially saying, hey, I'm 29. I want to have a chance of winning the Champions League. If you're not in it for 2 years, I'm out of here. You're going to have those little bits there. The bottom clubs, same thing. You've got, Troy Deeney has valid reasons. I like Troy. I respect everything he says, and I have every reason and I get every reason why he's not playing. But they've lost now their talisman, and they're in a relegation scrap. You got Bournemouth players out of contract. Ryan Fraser going to be out of contract. There's lads that are like, hold on, I'm going to be out of contract very soon, and it's going to be closer than what it would have been where they had probably had 3 or 4 months of hard graft, rest, join a club. Now it's going to be, the windows are going to be so much smaller and tighter. How much effort do you put in to not get injured and still try and obviously negotiate potentially a new deal? Chelsea the same. They've done well. They got, I think they gave Giroud another year contract and potentially one other, but they got Willian and Pedro out of contract. They haven't signed a new deal. What are they going to be doing? It's all well, and they know that they've got Timo Werner joining and
we won't get into that one. That's for sure.
No, but I'm saying, I think it's not going to be black and white. I hate to say this. The only black and white thing is obviously the fact that Liverpool obviously now are actually going to win the league, which obviously I think like basically 99% of fans and everyone else around the world are disappointed with. But that's the only inevitable thing. I think that it will have a massive effect, because I think those first 2 or 3 games, time will tell. The other thing is behind closed doors. We've seen in Bundesliga, basically in the first couple of weeks, home teams weren't winning a game unless you were called Dortmund or Bayern Munich, because where you play against someone like a Sheffield United, going away. It's a hard place to be, right? With all them fans on top of you, like the terrace, the old terrace almost. That's not going to exist. You're now literally playing ability against ability for me.
As we've started this new format, Sam has actually literally taken double the amount of time that he should have already. Messed up the whole show in the first 15 minutes. No, so Daniel, get in
the
there.
Buzzer.
Yeah, it's my fault actually. I didn't press the start. Go on.
So yeah, piggybacking on what Sam said, I think the main thing is injuries that existed before COVID-19. So you got Harry Kane, for example, Marcus Rashford. These guys are now back. They were supposed to be out for the season. So I think it does play a balance, because whereas, maybe you could have seen the Tottenham struggle with some of the teams in terms of who they're playing, not having a striker, not having a recognised striker, Son being out, Kane being out, they now have got both their players back. And so it gives an unfair advantage to sort of a team like Tottenham, which, you weren't expecting, or like a United who didn't have Pogba, didn't have Rashford. Those two guys are now back. And you're going to sort of look at sort of areas. And I think it's the same thing with the bottom half of the team as well. Players that are out injured, or with the whole COVID situation and not practicing, not really staying in match shape. Some guys are going to get injured and injured really badly in terms of they might be out for the rest of that season, which they wouldn't have been without COVID. So I think the whole situation has definitely put an asterisk in terms of outside of Liverpool, really, because we knew they were going to win. It's put an asterisk in terms of the rest of the league, in terms of how it's going to shape, because we don't know now. City might drop massive amounts of points. Chelsea might stay in the top 4. They might go down. The bottom 3 might actually be different from what it was before. So we don't really know now. And I think, there's going to be question marks. It's like, well, should we have just cancelled the season, done a new season, done it as a write-off, or what?
What's your take? What's your personal take on that? Do you feel that we should come back? Besides your hatred for the greatest team in the land at the moment.
I mean, the greatest team in the land is not Liverpool, but yeah, I'm not trying to be biased. I think honestly, given how late in the season, and this is objectively speaking, I think given how late it is in the season, I would have liked to see them just cancel the season so they could prepare for the new season, to make sure the new season is in place perfectly to start the new season perfectly in place. Because yes, they're rushing to get this over because basically everyone knows it, financials. And if you didn't have the finances, I think they would have just cancelled it and said, okay, let's scrap this, let's focus on the new season, let's actually work on it. Because right now, people still don't really know how it's going to work. And I would rather you work on the new season and making sure at least you can get half the stadium full, at least, or something like that, rather than just empty stadium and then, okay, empty stadiums, more. So yeah, that's all my thoughts on that.
Sam, get in there. What's your take on that?
I agree. I mean, I'm a non-league manager, so I know that obviously without even thinking about it, it was just null and void. Hey, your season's done. Because obviously there's no defined, like you said, the financials aren't there. All the women's leagues cancelled. Again, which is a bad thing, because you're going, hold on a minute, what's showing priorities of what's important potentially? But it is, I think, it all comes down to money. What are they going to do with all that money that they would need to refund back to Sky or BT? The stats, what do you do with that? It was just too much for them to think about contemplating doing it. That's what it's going to come down to. But
what do you feel about the sorry to cut you, but what do you feel about the transfer wise? It's like it looks like, and to me, that some of the teams are actually not going to be able to make. Actually, majority of the teams are not going to be able to make moves as they normally would at this time of the year. What's your take on that?
I think that's the thing, that obviously now the finances are going to have to be rejiggled. They made the boys take pay cuts, so will that be a case of that? Will now they've taken the pay cuts, but the games are still going to get played, and all the money's still being shown on TV. So where does that money? Do they get it back? There's going to be the finances there. This will just actually now probably level it back, and we won't have the Neymar effect is now well and truly gone. Since that Neymar transfer, obviously everything's gone crazy. I think it might level the playing field, and I've got to say I'm quite happy with. I know Arsenal are tight, but actually it might actually give us it might bring it a little bit closer. The only thing I would say going forward, what are the wages going to be like with people? Because you've obviously got people already at these 300 grand plus. How and where are they going to go and get that? Because we already seen at Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, they've already come out and said, hey, we haven't got the money. So you might see a few more people signing contracts rather than moving on.
Do you feel, Daniel, that there's going to be a change within the cultural football. So it's not going to be just like based on, buying players all the time. Like, do you feel that coaching actually it comes across from what we heard from Jurgen Klopp this week, where it's pretty much like, all right, okay, I have new players coming through. I have the players we already, have taken a pay cut. We have to deal with what we have first of all. And because obviously we're going to be paying back season tickets, VIP lounges, all of these types of things. So it's kind of forcing him to have to kind of, looks like at the moment, unless they're calling everyone's bluff, that they're going to be just changing the culture of football and just dealing with what you have at the moment rather than keep on buying. What do you think?
I say no. And the reason why I say no, because look, this COVID situation is a one-off. We don't know what's going to happen. We are going to get a vaccine. And the money in football is just going up and up and up. Mm-hmm. Yes, look, I think whereas they're not going to get sort of the money from, fans, if the season is played behind closed doors next season, you're probably going to get more more games televised because there's not going to be fans. Therefore, you're going to probably charge a more higher premium. So the money's still going to return back to the clubs. I think bottom half teams are going to struggle. I think the top half are going to sort of utilize it really well. And I think what we're going to do is go back to the days of when, you had the Uniteds or the Arsenals or the Chelseas cherry picking the top players. I think for the next sort of 2-3 seasons, because they just will have more money. There'll be more financial place. But I think for the next year or so, I do believe that coaching is going to be more important than anything else, because you don't have the resources to just buy a player that you need, like a Mourinho that will just buy a defender if he doesn't like the defender he has. So I think coaching is going to be important. But I think that's going to be capped for the next season and a half. I think once we get to that sort of World Cup, Qatar World Cup 2020, 2022, then I think it's going to go back to normal a little bit, because, TV deals are not going to go down. They're only going to continue going up.
And lastly, Sam, regarding like the transfer window, because obviously, this whole pandemic has actually caused complete chaos within the game. So obviously, normally there'll be a transfer window before the season starts. I think they maybe have abolished that. So it was normally going to finish in September. They're going to have to figure out what date that's going to. I think this has just come out pretty recently. What date it's going to end? Is there going to be a winter transfer anymore? All of these types of things. How do you think that it's just going to affect that?
I think we touched on seeing it today. Obviously, August to October, potentially the summer transfer window. So they're obviously going to have to move it about. But I don't think we're going to see anything sort of crazy in my belief. I think we'll probably see people buying 1, maybe 2 players. I think Chelsea obviously have been lucky because they're just using the money that they got from Hazard and obviously other people. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be crazy. I think, like Daniel said, I think everything's going to sort of just sandwich into one. But I think once it'll probably go back to normal after the Qatar World Cup, because obviously that's going to just play havoc being in the winter months. But yeah, I think it's going to play a part. What I would say, it'll be now interesting to see who's actually prepared and have their youth players ready. Because, you look at Liverpool, greats there. Chelsea have obviously already had a trial run at it this season. Although I don't know what they're going to do with Tammy Abraham and obviously Timo Werner. But there's, this is where you're going to show people like Man City now how good your academy, because you've been buying all these players. You're not you're going to go out and try.
So are you for this then? Are you for like youngsters getting more of a chance?
100%. I think now this is a good time to actually maybe implement and actually put another rule in to say that you must have an extra home or extra 2 homegrown players either in the squad or at least starting, because then you're going to actually really it will help, and it will help England going forward as a national side.
See, I think the homegrown quota thing, I think, is a bit of a cop out from the Premier League, because you've got someone like Fabregas who's would have been classified as homegrown, but he's never ever going to play for England. He's a Spanish kid. He's not playing for England. I think you need to put a quota for actual British players and say, maybe, a match day squad has to have at least 2 British players in the squad. At least that way encourages it, because homegrown could easily mean a Paul Pogba. So, you just get someone in before their 21st birthday, 3 seasons in the club, and that's it. And that doesn't necessarily help England in that respect. So I think maybe being a bit more stricter, that might help in that regards. But again, that's a view for out there, especially if Brexit happens.
So registered to play for like England, Wales, Scotland. They like, you cannot play for any other club now. You've decided to play for one of those guys. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I think if you can at least say, look, we are encouraging British players If you want to go English, you can say English, but I'll say British. And you've got to declare an allegiance for one of those. It just encourages it more. It pushes it more, because especially with Brexit now happening as well, I think you need to actually say, look, maybe 2 homegrown British players that play for the national team, or is eligible to play for the national team. And I think that's when you'll start to get increase, because homegrown, I've always felt like that was a cop-out for the Premier League.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think obviously, just rounding up, I think that it's going to be quite interesting to be able to see, the new form of football. And then I personally am not a big fan of the massive £200 million transfer fees, because obviously I think it's kind of ruined people's actually true value, because there's a lot of people going for 100 million, like Dembele to Barcelona, who is not worth 100 million in any form of way at all, and it's been proven so. So I think that the weird, silly transfer market that we had before is going to be non-existent, and I think it's going to be good for new young players. And as I said, like people like City who've been talking about their academy, now we're going to get to see it. So let's move on to NFL. There's a lot of things been going on there over the last week, thanks to Mr. Drew Brees. Right. So for those who don't know, Drew Brees is one of the most important profiles of the NFL. Walter Payton Man of the Year, and he's due to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Now, when he was talking to Yahoo Finance about what his country means to him, he made some insensitive comments regarding protesting. He said, and I quote, "I will never agree with anyone disrespecting the flag of the United States or our country. I'll say again. I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country or our flag." And Michael Thomas loosely commented on social media that he doesn't know any better. Since then, Drew Brees has apologized twice on social media. And obviously, one written reply to Donald Trump and so forth. And then there's another video where he asked people to be able to look into his eyes to see how sincerely sorry he was. My question to you guys is that because of obviously this unrest, obviously I know that the players since then have actually come out and supported him and accepted his apology and wanted to kind of move on. But do you feel that this is going to be something that's going to stay around? Do you think it's ruined Drew Brees' legacy, like the way that people think of him? And do you feel that it's going to not most importantly, but do you feel that it's going to affect the team's performance? Because obviously these are guys who are actually tipped to be able to go to for the last 3 years to go to the Super Bowl. Sam, get in there.
I think obviously it's definitely going to put a bit of a stain on his career. People will bring it up in years to come. Hey, do you remember when Drew Brees did this? But the only way now for him to get over this is actually by delivering something to New Orleans. New Orleans is probably the worst state he could have actually been involved with, actually, to say those sort of comments.
Yeah.
So he has to deliver. The trouble with Drew Brees is that there's already pictures of him with Trump and things like that now, that it's just like, okay, there's still going to be some doubters. You can have a massive argument with someone, they say sorry, and you're like, okay, mate, no worries. But listen, you don't just forget about it, do you? And Michael Thomas, he might have said, "Hey, look, what he said it. He's an idiot, but I accept his apology." But right now, I still think that's in the back of his mind, and the organisation must have been going like this, like just once they saw all that, like the beef on Twitter. So yeah, I don't think this is the last we'll hear of it, and the time will tell is when the first time he does kneel for the national anthem, and then let's see how he deals with the reaction of the other side, so we say the Trump side, when he does do that, and let's see what camp he's in then. But right now, talk is cheap. Let's see what he does.
Daniel, do you feel that this is going to affect like the relationship he has with the players, and obviously how he's seen as, do remember that this is the same guy who donated, some serious money after Hurricane Katrina to be able to rebuild the city. Do you feel that is fair? That one mistake that he's actually made, getting carried away with his talking about old glory, is should ruin his legacy?
Well, Dre, let me first address Sam's point about sort of when you mentioned sort of the first time he takes a knee. I don't think I'll be very shocked to see Drew Brees take a knee, and if he does, I think it will be disingenuous, but I think it will be down to peer pressure than anything else. He said what he said, and that's how he felt, and it's not changed from 2016 to when he said that then to now. So that's the first point. I think going on to sort of Drew Brees, it's a difficult one. I think from his sort of legacy in New Orleans, some people have already sort of written him off. I think the era in which we are in, sort of this cancel culture, anything you say, anything you do that isn't in the mainstream acceptable on social media, they cancel you out, and it's known. So, look, he could win a Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a little bit tainted in that regards. I think, for me personally, I would like to see his actions. I like to see what he does going forward in these actions. I think, it was very insensitive, his comments. Yes, your granddads fought in World War II, but let's not lie. Black people fought in World War II in segregated armies and came back after fighting for your freedoms to then still get segregated and back to the bus. If you knew anything about your history, you would have known you should never have made that comment.
Do you feel, and sorry to interrupt you, but do you feel that as I said, like he got carried away at the moment, and I'm not defending him in any formal way, but I think what I can defend is his character and the person that he's shown up until this point, until this complete mishap and bad timing and insensitive comments. And I think what he's guilty of, do you feel that what he's guilty of is more so insensitivity by just coming out and saying, I will never understand, I will never agree, rather than just saying, effectively like, well, I'm going to do this, but I respect other people who are going to do that?
No, I agree. I think, I agree with your point. I think it was insensitive. I don't think he's a racist. I think it was just not really understanding the moment, not showing enough empathy, which we don't really associate with Drew Brees at the time. I think if he was going to be in the league for longer, I think it wouldn't affect him as much. But we have to remember this is his last year. And if he doesn't win a Super Bowl and he has the stigma of him, of what's going on like this, I think that will be long lost. And I think if he had maybe 3 or 4 more years in the league, I think he could work on his reputation, for his teammates. Malcolm Jenkins, you saw the video that he posted. He was very emotional. I don't know if he can get over it, particularly since he's sort of head of the player coalition. So I think it's a tricky one. I think personally for me, if I was in the locker room, I'll just say, let's work on a Super Bowl. But then again, something like this can galvanize the team, and it could galvanize the team to win the league and win their division and win the Super Bowl. But I just also don't think the Saints are going to do it from a team's point of view. I think there are better teams out there that will win the Super Bowl.
Sam, do you feel that, just lastly on this point, do you feel that it's wrong for someone who's done all the things that he's done? Because I find it quite, obviously I was annoyed that he's opened the gates to people like Trump supporters and Laura Ingraham and obviously Trump himself, to be able to say, see, he's like, he agrees with us, and then completely dismiss what the actual protest about, because it's never been about the flag, as Aaron Rodgers tweeted automatically. What do you feel like? Do you feel that he's going to be able, people are ever going to be able to just get over this and see all the good that he's done compared to this one bad mishap, but mishap nonetheless?
Absolutely not. I mean, you can.
Do you personally feel that?
What? That he actually meant his apology?
No. Do you actually personally feel that he shouldn't be forgiven, or if you're a player, has your opinion changed of him as well?
Yeah, massively. Like this, he didn't need to say what he had to say at that point. Skirt past it, especially with everything that was going on. These guys are trained media robots, right? Now, Drew Brees, not only that, the quarterback is the captain of the team. Your roster is 70 to 80% black people. Know your role. So for me, I don't forgive him for what he said there, and I think he just showed his, and like many others, showed his true colours. So for me, and being a sports person myself, I don't know if I could ever let that slide. So I get why Jenkins is going to be.
But do you feel that he shouldn't? And it's all well and good, like for him to be able to, come out and say something that's going to offend people and people push back. That's obviously fine. But don't you feel that he has a right to be able to say his views? Obviously, his timing is terrible. Like, of this week of all weeks, silly for him to do it.
Do it when you're retired, because Drew Brees will forever be picked up afterwards. Voice your opinion. As I said, these guys.
Isn't it just as bad though? Isn't that like more cowardly that he's doing it when he's not around his teammates?
So, but again, that's what I'm saying. He is an employee of New Orleans Saints.
Right.
Now, if I said that certain things like that in my day job, should we say, someone's getting rid of you. People will be, we can't have that. and I think there's certain opinions we would need to, you're not saying bottled up, but like, hey, that is something that you just shouldn't have addressed at that point. As I say, especially with the fact that his teammates right there, how they did react. And he you know what the worst thing was for me? Reason I really don't believe it and I don't like what he did, he didn't actually come out and apologise immediately. It took him all of those tweets, and was it 2 or 3 days, the apology?
No. The apology was the next day, in fairness to Drew. So the apology was the next day. I don't know. I think with regards to the Brees things, I get what you're saying. I think, look, you've got to, if you know the man and you know what he's done and you know the kind of character he is, you give him the benefit of the doubt. It was a slip up. It was a horrible slip up. And I think, I personally am of the situation of let everyone speak their mind. Even if I don't like it, let you speak your mind, because at least I know where you stand. Yeah. I'd rather him spoke what he said if I was in the locker room. I know where you stand, and it's like, okay, cool. And then it's mine, and then it's now for me to be like, look, mate, you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong. Because if you didn't say that, you don't know. And I think this could be a learning or teaching moment for Drew Brees to then go to these people who are these Trump supporters who are flagging and say, look, I felt this way. After speaking to them, after learning, after changing my views, this is why I've changed my views. This is why I think it's wrong. And follow me. Because end of the day, like many people say, you need white America to get to be, to support the fight against racism. Otherwise, it's not going anywhere.
Daniel, I was going to say, what the worst thing about this is now, obviously, people are going to have their individual views. Now, what about the people that are on that offensive line protecting Drew Brees right now? Because if you're mad, this is a guy you've got to try and protect, and if you're not, I'm not saying they would do it on purpose, but he's supposed to be like, he's your captain. He's supposed to be your mate. You protect your mate. You protect your family, right? He's the gem. If you've got any little spark of not hatred, but something you don't like, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to.
You say that. You say that, but then I'm not going to lie to you. Drew Brees is. What he said is not the worst thing that's been said in the locker room. And then you got to look at the Eagles player, I forgot his name now, that used the N-words. They still rallied around him. They didn't win anything, but they still rallied around him. Yeah, Cooper. So I think it's a situation of, I think for the sake of winning, people will put their egos to one side.
I just think lastly on this, I just think that with that, I'm more disappointed in the world that we actually live in, where someone's track record of all the things that they do, all the nice things that they've done for charity. That man, came to that city when it was on its knees, and he helped build everything they are right now. He got them a Super Bowl. This is not a normal situation. I'm disappointed that of the timing. I'm disappointed again, yes, of the messaging, because I really just think at this point you just kind of keep that to yourself at this particular time. But we have to stand up for people to actually be able to say what their beliefs are without being cancelled, as this world that we live in now is. You can't say anything, right? But sorry, I was waiting for Sam to say one last thing about Drew Brees before we move on. You're going to hold that one in?
Yeah, I'll wait.
Oh, you're going to wait and see. All right, okay. Right, so, last topic of discussion is Roger Goodell, on Black Lives Matter, was putting out an announcement, and he said, in quote, "Without black players, there will be no National Football League. And the protests around the country are symbolic of centuries of silence, inequality, and oppression of black players, coaches, fans, and staff." Now, do you feel that this apology came out of the blue? The timing was everything. He didn't mention Kaepernick's name, who's been effectively blackballed from the NFL. Do you, Daniel, I'll start with you, do you feel that this apology was enough?
Well, I think you got to think about where it came from. Obviously, you got Michael Thomas from the Saints. He started off with that video, and you've had a lot of prominent black members of the league in that video. Odell Beckham, reigning Super Bowl MVP and arguably the best quarterback in the league, Patrick Mahomes, and you had a lot more people in there as well. So I think that's what prompted him to do that, to give that response. Now I think there's one thing that's really telling in that response, which I was kind of shocked in, which he said, was when he said, "Without any black players, there will be no league." And I think that's the first time you've really heard someone in a position of power. Because people say it secretly, 70% black, the NBA, massive amounts of black people as well. But no one's really come out and actually publicly said, without these players, we wouldn't have a league. And him saying that was very powerful. Now, the whole Colin Kaepernick situation, I reckon that's due to the lawsuit, due to the sort of the agreement that they agreed back a few years ago. So I think that's why he didn't mention his name. Otherwise, I think if he did, he would have probably mentioned his name. I think right now we have to see what actions they have to do, because I think particularly black players in the league need to realize how important they are. The fact that they're recognizing without you, there is no league. Do more with it. We saw the NFL effectively, boycott Arizona because they didn't celebrate the MLK Day. So I think the NFL has a lot more power than it does. I think the players in the league has a lot more power. I like the fact that he's mentioned that and he's responded to that. I think right now I need to see actions. And I think, look, you need to go to these places, especially the players. I'm not playing in the stadium. I'm not playing in this state until I see changes, until I see policy changes. We will move the game somewhere else. With the COVID situation, we've now seen it. People are starved for sport. When NFL comes back, it's probably going to be double the amount of people watching it. You have more power than anything. We're not playing in this state. Until you change your policies towards black and minority people in the US, we're not playing.
Sam, what's your take on it?
Again, to me, it's being careful what I say.
He's watching out for his media passes.
Yeah, Sam's scared. You're skeptical.
You're dancing
You're
there.
skeptical.
Yeah, no. Listen, I love the hospitality that the NFL gives me. I'm actually, I'm happy it came out, but it's several years too late, in my opinion. It was almost what I was trying to touch on the Drew Brees thing, but you pointed out it was obviously only a day, the next day that he apologised. But this is we've ruined a man's career in Kaepernick. We've others that have obviously protested their careers or endorsements were ruined. Some of their careers obviously disjointed as well, but because of it. So I'm glad it's come out, and I'm glad that changes us probably inevitable at the moment, because of what the movement that is happening, which is great. Yeah. I just want to see how much actual clout Roger Goodell has, because, hey, these owners, Jerry Jones, all these boys there, listen, they run the NFL. They run the NFL, in my opinion, and they're the ones that you've got to try and change, and they're not going to change. So
just for those who don't know, basically Roger Goodell, the commissioner, it works for the owners of the league, and they all vote for him to actually keep his job and obviously his pay rises and so forth. So he can disagree with them. He can, give them suspensions and so forth, from which he has been, like the law and order of the NFL. Do you feel that there's Daniel? Do you feel that he will have to show, because obviously he's had Trump coming back at him, questioning the statement in full? Do you feel that he's going to have to do more than just a statement?
Of course, I think the players are going to have to see that now. I think, like I said to you before, I said earlier, I think black players are realizing the power they have now when they band together. And I think it's that's also another thing which I'm disappointed is, you should have realized this before. They're not going to get rid, 70% of the league, they're not going to get rid of you. They might get rid of one, but if all of you band together, they're not going to. And I think with Roger Goodell, you have to start seeing actions. You have to start to see NFL getting involved, because I hate the argument when you say Americans always say, "Oh, don't mix politics and sports." But you sing the national anthem every time you play a game. That's political. That's nationalism. That's politics. So you are mixing sports and politics together all the time. Every time you talk about your military, all the time. You have games dedicated to military. You have games dedicated to breast cancer awareness. That's all political. So for me, they have to do more. NFL has to do more. They are the number one sport in the US. They have a large voice. And to be fair, NFL, they should just say to people, look, if you are getting sick of seeing this, then you do something about this racism and fight it yourself, if you don't want to keep hearing this in the game every time. So I think, you need to see Roger Goodell do more. You need to see the league do more. But as sort of you've alluded to, Roger Goodell is at the behest of the owners. And so when you have 31 or 32 teams, 32 team owners, white, the only one that says the Jaguars owner that isn't, it's very tricky to import changes if the rest of them don't want to.
He's one of the biggest Trump supporters. The Jags owners.
Yeah, so
it doesn't quite work. But they have spoke about it. They have spoke about obviously trying to do the Rooney Rule and obviously having more black head coaches in there as well. But I don't want it to become a tick box exercise where we just.
Well, do you feel like what he did last week when they made that announcement, when it was like, effectively, you're going to get like a bonus if you hire black people, which was completely offensive. Do you feel that, is there a way for him to kind of like gain, walk this back? If he takes a knee or it does something extra like that, obviously you can't just.
He's apologized. He apologized about the Kaepernick thing, saying obviously he's got that. Obviously sees that, but this is my thing. I would love to see Kaepernick in a team, but then but another part of me goes, is this just another one of these sort of, sorry to say it, bullshit media PR stunts? By putting him in a shirt. That's my thing. I also think that that's the only concern, because I'd love to see him in a shirt, but maybe I would actually go one step further and say, look, Colin, they've obviously apologised publicly. They're probably hopefully apologised to him on a face-to-face level, but actually maybe making him a more of an ambassador of the sport and make him run this, make him like take lead of having more black ex-players as coaches and being part of the recruitment teams and let him do that. That would be my view of making it better, by having him as a spearhead to do that. Because I think if you just put him in as a shirt, I think for me it's a PR stunt, because it's just like, well, oh yeah, we're a few years too late, but hey, here you go, you can toss the rock a little bit. But he's just going to be effectively probably shoved into a team for me. Someone like, hey, can you take him so we can do this? And there'll probably be some dirty little backhander somewhere. I wouldn't want that to happen.
Well, I was going to say San Diego. I went old school there. But the Chargers definitely can't do worse than what they've got. So definitely, I'd say for them, it'll be interesting to see. I think he has to actually stand up to Trump, and I think that the players are going to be looking at him to be able to make a stance against Trump. So I feel personally that it wouldn't do him any harm, although people are not going to believe it, but it's not going to do him any harm if he actually takes a knee with the players. So solidarity against Trump and his normal racist flaming of the fans. Yeah. Daniel, before we wrap, what was your other sports highlight of this week?
So the sports highlight of the week, or should I say last week, is the NBA and the announcement that they have approved for the start of the league, a tentative date for Friday, July 31st. It will be a 22-team league. So I don't think all the teams are going to be involved. But yeah, so it's going to be a situation of, it's going to be played in Disneyland Resort. Players are going to stay there. They're going to sort of work out, train in the resort, and play the games in the resort. Now, that's an interesting concept. I think one thing that, they had ideas toyed around. I personally think the league should have tried to potentially do something different. Maybe do it. I think I saw sort of rumors about maybe a cup tournament type elimination rounds. I think they should have maybe done something like that, play around with the format just to make it a bit more entertaining and interesting. I think 31st of July is a little bit too late to start things again, simply because it's going to play into the NFL season, and we all know when the NFL season takes hold, it's the king of the TV ratings. More people show up than anything else. When basketball's great from sort of March onwards, say February, end of February onwards. So I think for me, them doing it at the end of July is a bit of a risky ball ache because you've got an NFL that's starting in sort of the August time. So we'll see. But it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see how the teams get back in. Like we said with the Premier League, there's going to be an asterisk with the teams playing. And I think when it comes to the NBA, the same thing is going to happen. You know, you've got teams that will inform like the Lakers, and they are going to come back, you know, not as match fit, lacking game time, and we'll see. I think it's still, I think for me, this format suits a younger team, a team that has depth, a team that's younger, that has the legs. The Lakers are quite old. You know, if you're going to play into it, you got to really get into the rhythm. And the rhythm is maybe 3 months. People forget it's not necessarily a few games, but basketball is really a rhythm sport. And I think you got to take sort of 2 to 3 months to really get into a stride, to really pick it up. And people forget this. So I think it's going to be a younger team. I think the Clippers will probably prevail and get to the finals. But yeah, I think I'm kind of disappointed in the NBA. I thought it was their chance to be really creative in restructuring to come back in the league as a one-off, and people would have accepted it. And I think they just went back to sort of what they know, which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, for all NBA fans out there listening, NBA is back. Not till July 31st though, but we'll see.
We'll definitely be taking a deeper look into that next week and having definitely a discussion, because so we know a lot more by then of the format and all these other questions that are it seems to be a bit disorganized. But you know, the main thing is it's back, and then you know it gives. It'll be interesting to see if people feel that if the Lakers do win and let's say LeBron gets another championship, does that have an asterisk against it? Is it a real championship? You know, is it not? You know, so we'll talk about that definitely next week. Sam,
the amount of games they play, though, I know. Yeah, there's an asterisk, but it's not like they're only playing 20, 30 games a season. They've all had a bit of a chance to run up to this point. But like it's like you said in the football, though, there'll be certain people that come back from injuries. People had a bit now. You think about the run up they have, and then there's a rest period. There's going to be. I don't know. I think it will have an asterisk, but I think that some people will probably benefit from this. I saw obviously Durant's obviously just out. He just ruled himself out there because I think to bring them up for that. But I think one thing it always does, even throughout the season, but what we'll obviously tell now is how good people's benches are.
Yeah.
Being a Raptors fan, obviously for me, I've always appreciated the fact that we've always had actually a good bench. So I'm thinking like now this will actually give people that chance actually, because they're going to have that run up. The other thing is obviously, like they say, it's the neutral ground in a sense that it's obviously going to be played at Disneyland, and probably the only people in attendance are going to be Mickey and Minnie. So
I knew you couldn't resist it. I knew it. I had hope, and I was thinking he's not going to do it. He hasn't done it. Good for him. And then you pull us back in. Sam, what's your sports topic that got your interest last week?
It's bit of this week, I suppose, is the Mr. Mystic McGregor. Oh, Conor McGregor retiring for the third time. I think it's the third time.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you just keep seeing. I see it come up on my phone. It's like Conor McGregor's retired. I was like, oh wait, I've reset my phone or something. Like, what is going on? But it'll be interesting. It will just be interesting because obviously there's a little bit going on. Obviously in the UFC, there's been a few sort of major fighters that have been basically talking about their contracts. They're not liking where their money's going. You know, the fact that they're still earning their money because they're on Fighter Island, still going ahead. You've got other now organisations that are chucking money out. So I think this could be again a little thing for him just to get that payday. Before it was retired from mixed martial arts, then he went and fought Mayweather. Now it's just he's just retired from this completely. Is he going to go and do something different to then come back? This isn't the end for me with Conor McGregor, but it's also just there is a little inkling though that something else might be coming out where he actually goes and takes another organisation elsewhere. Because as I say, a few fighters have come out and been a bit disgruntled with the UFC organisation.
Well, I won't be subscribing to another Mayweather-McGregor fight. So in case you guys are thinking of doing that again, you are not getting my money, not after the last one. That was a circus, absolute nonsense, as far as I'm concerned. Guys, I appreciate you guys, and I hope you like the new format, everyone who's listening and watching. we're going to keep on picking out the biggest stories of all the sports that we love and hold dear to our hearts. And we're very glad that we're actually going to be getting more than the Bundesliga in. I'm just saying that as a bitter Liverpool fan who's not going to be getting the striker that we've been talking about the whole summer. So, you guys have a look for more content on alternative sport on Instagram and at Verge Mag, and also obviously at the SportsHeads official. Guys, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you again next week. Peace.